So I was just thinking about how much I appreciate us meditating together. And I don't know about you, but that really enhances my own practice. I mean, not only do we at Sunday mornings together, but throughout the week at noon meditation. And I've noticed collectively over the years, it seems to me we've become more silent and less fidgety. Have you noticed that? Yeah, there's a field that we're creating together. And so we create that field every time we practice together. And so hopefully this space, this sanctuary, when you walk in, more and more will begin to bring you into that kind of space. It's like at home. If you have a place you like to meditate, perhaps you have an altar, or maybe you have a favorite tree in the park, that place becomes your sacred place because it's a place that you imbue with that kind of stillness and peace or that experience of the sacred. You have that, some of you? Yeah. Oh, great. We're together here. We're with each other. So for some people, the silence is a kind of new and awkward thing. My sister comes here maybe once or twice a year. She really likes our community, really likes the positive path for spiritual living, Dawn. She likes that whole vibe. And she always says the same thing to me afterwards. What are you supposed to do, though, in that silent time? Sometimes she says, what are you supposed to think about? So I've tried to point her to some, guided meditations online or apps so she could help, just begin to quiet her mind a little bit more. But I think she'd rather come a couple times a year and just ask me that question. To each their own. But for many of us, maybe not all, but for many of us, silence is a welcome reprieve from a busy world, a busy life, and a busy mind. Yes? Yeah. So sometimes my mind wanders when I meditate. I don't know about you. And sometimes a whole meditation session can go by, and usually I'll notice that my mind is wandering at some point and try to bring it back and so on. But afterwards, I might not feel quite as much peace as the days when it's just like, really that yummy, peaceful, kind of very deeply connected experience. Can you relate to this? Like sometimes? So it's just to remind ourselves, if we have a day that feels a little bit off, don't abandon your practice. Just keep at it, and pretty soon we just create that groove, just like we create the space where we go. Unity's co-founder Charles Fillmore talked about meditation practice as going into the silence. That's always what he called it. And the Tao Te Ching says, "Bide in silence, and the radiance of the Spirit shall come and make its home." So it's just, even if it's just a minute of silence, just a moment through your day where you pause, as we do together often, drop into your heart, take a few breaths, that can do wonders for you, your relationships, your life. Really, it opens up the way for everything. So today, if you hadn't heard already or noticed, we're talking about the fourth unity principle, prayer and meditation. And that's a little bit about meditation. What about prayer? What is this thing we call prayer? Because it's this huge umbrella term, really, that can mean so many things, right? It casts a very wide net. Prayer can be like sort of traditionally what we think of, maybe folded hands and speaking some prayer that's on our heart. It can be supporting others. It can be blessing others. We do a lot of that in Unity. It can be sitting still. It can be walking, moving, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, walking the labyrinth like we did with the kids this week. I was so impressed with those kids. I just have a moment to say this, right? How many of you helped with the summer camp? Can you stand? Because that was just phenomenal, your help. Thank you. A lot of our volunteers took vacation time from work to be here with the kids. And some of them said, my employer understands that I must be at summer camp. But anyway, when we were walking the labyrinth together, I told the kids from ages like 4 or 5 to 14, we're going to do this in silence. There's 25 of them, right? So they were pretty quiet. Most of them were completely silent, and anybody who talked was pretty quiet. And then I said, let's also walk mindfully, which, code for a little bit more slowly than just running the labyrinth, right? And they did that. And then afterwards, they all got their journals and wrote and drew about their experience. It was just so beautiful to do this together. That's a prayer. And so we can do these things together, and we can do them individually, and the more we do each of the other, it sort of enhances the whole experience. So probably prayer, it isn't so much to try to pin down what it is or what we do when we pray, but how it is that we approach whatever it is we do. Because then everything can be a prayer, right? Everything we do can be a prayer if it's approached in such a way that we are deliberately conscious with whatever it is that we are doing. That then becomes a prayer. So this is how we say principle number 4. Through prayer and meditation, we align our hearts and minds with spirit. So there might be as many reasons to pray and meditate as there are people, but let's try to coalesce around a few of them, because there's a few key ones, I think. One is to ground and to center in spirit, right? To just bring ourselves back to that place where we allow our minds to open, where we rest in a place, we reset, maybe we feel some calm, some peace from that. Another might be to feel the presence of the divine. When we feel into that presence that is here, that permeating presence that is everywhere present, including inside of us, there is a sense of reassurance that comes with that, a reactivation of our faith, a renewal, maybe an energizing experience from that. It improves our overall well-being. You hear this a lot in the wider culture about health. Now it seems like everybody's talking about meditation, which is fantastic. And in the sense of it helps you with clarity, with confidence, with better sleep, with all the different things that all the research says about meditation and prayer and helping us. And we also pray and meditate because we can gain insights. I often go into prayer or meditation or walk the labyrinth with an intention, with something I'm maybe wanting a little bit more guidance or clarity on or wisdom on, and I often get it through these practices. So I encourage you, if you haven't used prayer and meditation in that way, to open to your higher mind and receive or to the wisdom in your gut, that it really can be a window into that. So we probably knew these reasons why we would pray and meditate. Really, the question is, why don't we? Right? All these good reasons. So why don't we do it more? It feels like a chore. Yeah, it feels like something. Or you're busy, got more important things to do. Time is precious, right? Fear. Somebody say fear? Yeah. Can you say more about fear? Ah. Wow, that's profound, right? The fear of ego deaths. Pam.
On the lighter side,
Fear of doing it wrong.
And not being able to hear there's really no wrong,
Yeah.
but it's that idea of what it's supposed to be, and it's hard to penetrate to there's really no wrong.
Yeah.
So it's fear of just, I can't do this.
Yeah, I'm not doing it right. Somehow it's not working for me, or it won't work for me. Boring. Hang on, it's going to get really interesting. Yeah. So what? Triggering, yes. Ah. Did you guys hear that? Yeah. So religiously triggering the word prayer and could feel condescending to tell somebody, I'm going to pray for you. Yeah. So yeah, and maybe a reframe for that is, would you like to pray together? Or using a different term. You don't have to use the term prayer. Would you like a blessing? Would you like me to hold the highest and best for you in my own personal spiritual practice time? There's different ways you can say things so that you yourself are not, I don't want to do that thing. So there is this sense that there's something in the way, whatever it is, many of the things we just heard, that there's some kind of block to that good, even though we feel like, oh yeah, that good does come when I do it, but I don't know, I don't think I'm going to do it. So what is that? I don't know, I think I'm going to do it. Is usually just something we need to discover. What's there? What is standing in my way so that we can let it go? I think about that. I think about this man a lot, actually. It's interesting. It's a biblical story where this man has a young boy, and he brings him to Jesus to be healed. And he says to Jesus, I'd like you to heal my son. And then he kind of tags on, if you're able. And Jesus is kind of like, and he explores that with him, like, do you think it's not possible, essentially? He doesn't use these words, but it's essentially like, what is this, And the man, I just imagine him like crying out. If you think about like the fact that his son has been sick for a really long time, he's been looking high and low for answers. His heart is probably breaking that he just hasn't been able to help this young son. And he's here hopeful because he's heard about this healer. And so he brings him there hopeful. And he says to Jesus, when Jesus asked him, like, essentially, don't you believe? And he says, I believe, help my unbelief. It pierces me every time. It's just like, it's so penetrating. I almost can hear him like yelling it out, because you know those times when you have tried something over and over again, or you've been on a long healing journey and it's just plain wearing you out. Or over and over, you're trying to improve your finances and it just never seems to get to be where you need to be. Or your home life isn't exactly how you want it to be, whether it's your relationship or actually where you live. Whatever it is in life, there can be that one thing that's sort of that tiring loop, right? That just isn't quite there. Anybody relate to this? You had these experiences? Yeah, maybe, hopefully you're not having them right now, but maybe you are having some of these right now. It's life, right? It's called human experience. And so you can imagine that we touch the space inside when we meditated together. You maybe touched that space inside, or maybe when we were singing, something opened in you and you went, oh yeah, there I am. Or you've had those moments anyway, even if you didn't do it this morning, you've had those moments where the door opened, the window opened, you experienced the light, you felt the love, you knew the presence was there. You had a sense that everything was going to be okay. You had a sense that something was possible, that maybe healing was possible, or freedom was possible, or whatever it is that you were holding in your heart and mind. That's what I imagine for this man. I imagine him like sitting in the dirt for some reason and just like I don't want to give up. I still have hope. I'm trying here. I've done everything I can. And along comes this guy and I'm like, can you do it maybe? And he's holding the belief. He's holding the affirmation. He's been holding it all along. He's been carrying it everywhere with him, or he wouldn't keep trying. He wouldn't keep getting up every day and doing whatever it is he's doing like you are. Every day, every time you get up and you do it again and you try again, you're like that man, like sitting in the dirt going, yeah, just keep trying. And I have a hope, I have a knowing, I have an affirmative understanding of the belief. I get that part. Look, Jesus, this is what I need help with. The unbelief. The thing that's in my way. The thing I can't seem to see through or move through. The thing I can't seem to penetrate. And that opens the way to everything. That's it. It's all about moving what's in the way. And we can't move it unless we know what it is. And so just looking, asking yourself, noticing what might be in the way. Today in this prayer and meditation time, or this focus on this principle, I really want to home into what is the practice behind it. It's release and affirmation. That's all it really is. Maybe the whole spiritual journey is just that, release and affirmation, right? We just get out of the way what is in the way so the good can arise, so we can see it, so we can know it, so we can remember who we are, and we can look around the world and remember who everyone is. It's a bringing of the light. It's an allowing of the light. And that is really our work. So it's always a good idea to start to clear the path wherever there may be a block in the path. It's also kind of the process of simplifying releases. It lets go. Candy and I were having a conversation between services. And we were talking about simplicity, and it's like over time, I've just realized, I have the kind of mind that loves to ideas and that's interesting and there's a rabbit hole, but she was saying, I see something different now. And I was like, yeah, I think things are just getting simpler. It's like, I don't have to play in that arena because that arena gets complex. And it causes us to lose our way a little bit. But if we just go down to the heart of the thing, it really helps us, right, on the journey. It really helps us. So that's what this is about. So I have this habit, when it's a bad habit, I want to release. So I'm going to say it out loud. Maybe that'll help me release it. When I'm working on a document, like my message, for example, I will cut a huge section, decide I'm going to move it, and then I'll see something else I want to work on, and I'll start working on that. Maybe David can relate. He's laughing. And I start working over there, right? And pretty soon I've cut and pasted a bunch of stuff. So when I go back and go, oh, wait, what happened to that huge section? And it's too late, right? Then I'm on Google. How do I get back to, And people are relating to this. Okay, good. So this happened to me 3 times while I was working on this message in the release section. And I thought, all right, Spirit, I think I get it. 3's a charm, right? So now I just have 2 bullets in the release section. Really clean and simple. And it just feels a lot more clear, right? So one of them is to declutter. Because that's what meditation does, right? It declutters our minds. It declutters our hearts. It lets us let go of all the stuff, the stories, the thoughts, the spinning, the emotions, the things that take us off course. And it just helps us. It's like physical decluttering. You can think of it in that way. You know how it is when you clean out something and the energy starts moving. It's that kind of experience. So decluttering emotionally and physically, or emotionally and mentally, is very much like decluttering physically. So last week we talked about principle number 3, co-creation. And really principle number 4 is like a how-to of co-creation. And a couple of people asked me for more on co-creation. So I created a handout from last week's talk if you want it. The ushers have it when you leave. But I wanted to get back to a story I shared last week on co-creation. Oh, Anne's got him over there. She's holding him up. So last week I was telling you about how Brenly, my wife, and I co-created our move to California and how that experience all happened. And about a year after we were in California, living in Santa Barbara, and we were having discussions around how we were going to keep doing this financially. And so we decided to advertise for a roommate. And that was like about as much fun as lead in our shoes, And that's about how we approached it. So we had an ad out on social media, and we would look very reluctantly. I think we even interviewed a couple people, but the whole thing was just sort of, we had a tiny place. We didn't really want to share it with a stranger. Maybe there's another way. And then one morning I woke up and I went, we are not using the principles that got us to California in the first place. She's like, you're right. And so we just shifted and we just said, what if we attracted somebody into our home that enhanced our lives? So we came up with an affirmation. We both started feeling more hopeful, and we started to say we share our home with somebody who contributes to our financial well-being and enhances our lives. And lo and behold, I told you last week, along comes Alice and her 10-month-old child, Grace, and now we have a child in our lives, and we still do to this day, our beloved goddaughter, Grace. So what happened was we went from have to get to. Simple journey, right? We went from burden to potential joy. And that is the work right there, my friends. That's it, is making that shift. What's going on in your life that you are looking at as a have to instead of a get to? Or where are you feeling burdened where you could actually be blocking your joy? I want to invite you, if you want to participate for a moment, it's easier if you, I think, to just drop inside and explore. For you extroverts, I'm not sure how that works, but you do you. But I just invite you to, if you wish to close your eyes and drop into your heart and just see, what am I approaching in my life as a have to? Or maybe what burdensome feeling am I holding? And what if your have to became a get to? What if you could just reframe it to a get to? How does that look and feel? Or could this burden that you hold be transformed into a joy? Maybe if you set it down. I invite you to imagine you actually setting down your have to or your burden, or maybe releasing it. You can imagine releasing it like a dove taking flight. And then just breathe in and see what you notice. Maybe a little more spaciousness or lightness of being, perhaps. Finally, let's put a fine point on your prayer with a statement of release and affirmation. See if you can name a word or two that encapsulates what you're releasing. And then see if you can come up with a word or two of what you want to affirm. And now just make it into a sentence. I release, and fill in the blank with your words. And I affirm, and fill in your blanks. Just say it one more time from the heart. I release, whatever it is, and I affirm, whatever it is. Nice job. You've just created your own personal affirmative prayer. Louise Hay says, affirmations are not something that we repeat over and over in order to make something happen. Affirmations are accepting the truth of what already is, and then laying claim to it by a word of truth that says yes to its outformation in your life. So in other words, we affirm not to make something true, but to claim what already is true. It's just us catching up with it, right? Our minds catching up with it primarily. So we might affirm, I am healthy, I am whole, I am prosperous, I am wealthy, I am generous, I am kind, my relationships are in harmony. Whatever it is for you, these are words of truth. It's just you might say, yes, but. And that's the call to help me with my unbelief. Affirmations invite us to stand in the truth even when our circumstances are challenging us. So now you might be thinking, well, what about the times I pray and meditate and affirm and the thing that I've been working on and imagining to be so doesn't happen? Anybody have that experience? Because this might get back to one of those, well, I don't think it's effective because it hasn't worked for me, or it didn't work for me in this situation. So, but does it really mean the prayer is ineffective, or does it mean that Spirit knows something that isn't yet revealed fully in our consciousness? That's why all these principles weave together, because we come back to principle number 1. God is everywhere present, permeating the universe, right? So there is a mystery involved that we don't know at all. We are a part of that. We are the divine I am, and we can know a lot more, but we don't always in every moment know everything, right? We aren't necessarily ourselves all pervasive, always present, all loving, all these things that we describe as this mystery. And so we are in that mysterious experience together. So Peggy Bassett really brings us home with her experience. She was a well-known religious science minister and the founder of the Holmes School of Ministry, it was called at the time. And at the height of her ministry, she developed Lou Gehrig's disease, which eventually she made her transition to. But at the time, she said this, we tend to think that the purpose of prayer is to terminate sickness. But we forget that the purpose of sickness may be to initiate prayer or to deepen our relationship with the divine. There it is, right? The purpose of whatever comes into your life is there in part to deepen, or maybe in full, to deepen your relationship with the divine. And isn't that a reframe for you? To recognize then it's not such a burden, maybe. There may be aspects of it that is burdensome, so it's not to not be real about your emotional experience, but also to hold that affirmative truth that we know is true, and to take the opportunity to deepen our relationship, to know more of what Spirit holds as a knowing for us. No matter the circumstances, prayer and meditation can give us those optimum states of peace, of love, of wisdom. So this release and affirmation, it's like a tag team. It's like a relationship that goes together, right? It's prayer and meditation go together, a speaking to, you could say, and a listening. And also there is this release and affirmation. When without release, affirmations can feel hollow. And without affirmation, release can feel incomplete. But if you can think about it like a garden, we weed and then we plant the seeds. We remove the debris and then the light is revealed. Similarly, we let go of fear and here comes faith. We release some shame and worthiness takes its place. We let go of control and in comes divine guidance. You get the idea. There is a sacred rhythm going on when we work with these two tools together, and they open up our inner landscape to be fertile to receive the seeds that allow transformation. So you don't need a meditation cushion or a mountaintop retreat, although both of those things are very lovely to have. You don't have to have them. In fact, this isn't like a Sunday practice, right? It's an everyday life practice that you can do in the grocery store line. You can do while you're driving. You can do while you're walking. You can do at every stoplight that you come across. You can do when in the moments that you remember at the top of the hour when maybe an alarm goes off because you're supposed to be somewhere. You can take a moment to pause and to allow yourself, you can remember it this way, pray as an acronym, to pause and to presence the presence, to presence yourself, to notice what's going on. What am I thinking about? What am I feeling? Where am I right now inside? And then to be open then, to listen for, to allow a little bit of that divine presence to be felt. To release like you just did, whatever it is that you need to release. Maybe it's a statement. Maybe it's a recognition of something that needs to be let go. To affirm the truth, to reach for that truth, to speak and claim, to lay claim to it so it can outform in your life, as Louise Hay says. And the why, just yay, right? It's complete, it's done, and so it is. Amen, thank you. That's all wrapped up into that end. The world needs your light. Not when you're perfect, not when it's all done and you're on the high level of vibration and you're so evolved, right? It needs you now. Now, just in the midst of it, exactly as you are. In fact, just like Bob says, I don't necessarily need like really refined artists. In fact, I'd rather not, right? I want you to come raw. I want you to come open so that the art moves us. This is the work. This is what we're up to. We're human and divine. And that's exactly how spirit and life and we need each other, is to come in the mess, come in the moment and say, here I am meeting the things the best I can do today. And the best I can do today may not be as good as the best I can do tomorrow or I could do last week, because different circumstances come. Maybe you didn't get as much sleep last night. Maybe you don't feel so well today. Maybe your best friend something's happened to your best friend. And so your best in those moments won't be as good as your best, when everything is clicking and aligned and feeling good. But this is a part of the journey. And so if we just accept, I'm just speaking to myself now, really, there's moments when I just realize I'm just having a little conversation with myself, and I sure hope you all are getting something from it. Okay, good. Got one. But it is that, isn't it? It's that acceptance. I mean, for me, it's I just always want the divine experience, the spiritual experience, the deeper experience. And I want everybody to want that. And I want us all to be in that. And I don't have patience for certain things that are going on in the world that just seem so far away from that. And I get frustrated with that. But if we just realize, here we are. We're in it together. Nobody said it was going to be super easy. But it could be simple and profound. Don gave me that earlier today, and I keep using it. Simple and profound. Just release and affirm. I promise you, that's all you have to do. Let's move into this week and just everywhere we can, release and affirm, and let's see what happens, because I think what is going to happen is you're going to show up as God. You're going to show up as the prayer. You're going to show up as the affirmation. You're going to say, wow, it isn't just in my life, it is me. I am the one. I am the one that is bringing the light, radiating the light, making this situation better. Wow, I didn't know I could do that. And pretty soon you realize it's you are walking that talk. You are embodying that. This isn't about ego at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We don't need to tell anybody how great we are and how evolved we are. That's ego, right? You just be it. You just be it. You exemplify it. You show it. You don't have to tell anybody. They just see it and they know it. And then they're reminded of who they are. So just release and affirm. Let's keep it simple and profound. Let's do one more affirmation together, shall we? I invite you to say it with me. I release mental and emotional debris and affirm divine truth. And so it is.